Earlier this week, we started talking about persuasive techniques. Today, we are going to continue that conversation, but we're going to be even more specific than just ethos, pathos, and logos. Okay? So, let me go into present mode here. The question is still, how does the media persuade us? Our objectives. When we are done with this lesson, you will be able to first identify the claims being made in various media resources, and two, explain how each media source uses persuasive techniques to sway audience opinion. So, quick review here. We know that ethos or ethos is when we appeal to the credibility of somebody. We use usually an expert like a doctor or a lawyer or a musician or anybody who's an expert in anything and have them promote or endorse the product. That way, we know that because they're an expert, we should believe that if they're endorsing a product, then it must really be good. Logos is when we appeal to logic and reason. That's our brains, how we think. So it might use data or statistics or facts of some kind to try to persuade us. And pathos is when we appeal to somebody's emotions. So that appeals to our feels, okay, to our heart. So beyond the big three here, there are many, many techniques that are used to persuade, more than we will even discuss in this lesson or this class. All of these techniques are in some way fall under big three category, okay? In some way they are ethos, pathos, or logos. And three, all of these techniques intend to change your mind. So basically, whenever somebody wants to persuade us in the media or any kind of communication, they will try to manipulate us, they will try to influence us so that they can win, so they can persuade us to think something, do something, buy something, okay? So the first type of persuasive technique that we have today is repetition. Words, phrases, sounds, or images that are repeated over and over for emphasis. So we've talked about this before with like fake news, where even if something is a lie or even if something is inaccurate, the more that you hear it or see it repeated, the more likely you are to believe it. So that also goes with things that are truthful, okay? The more, if I keep telling you every day that you are an excellent student, then you're more likely to believe that you're an excellent student. But if I keep telling you that your work is garbage, then you're going to be more likely to believe your work is garbage. So that's why we have to try to use positive influence more than negative, because repetition is very powerful. So one very famous example of using repetition as a rhetorical technique is right here with Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that my four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream.
Okay, so what King uses there is repetition. He's repeating the phrase, "I have a dream," to emphasize his dream. Second type of persuasive technique today is bandwagon. So this comes from the idea that back when they used to use horses and wagons, that if they wanted to promote a certain idea or like voting rights or something like that, a lot of times people would all get on a big wagon and they would have a band, like a parade, so that everybody could hear them coming, and they would all get into that wagon, climb into it, and try to make a big to-do so that everybody would pay attention to them, so that they could get their point across. Like I know that for women's rights that they did this a lot, where they would parade for women's rights. Okay. So bandwagon, if you jump on the bandwagon, that means that you are agreeing with everybody else. You want to do it because everybody else is doing it. And it looks fun. Okay. So this is a really, really old cheesy commercial that I remember from my own childhood that is an excellent example of bandwagon. So again, bandwagon tries to convince the audience by saying everyone else is doing it, so you should too. Take a look at this Dr. Pepper commercial.
I drink Dr. Pepper and I'm proud. I'm part of an original crowd. And if you look around these days, there seems to be a Dr. Pepper craze. I'm a pepper, he's a pepper, she's a pepper, we're a pepper. Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too? I'm a pepper, he's a pepper, she's a pepper. If you drink Dr. Pepper, you're a pepper too. Be a pepper, drink Dr. Pepper. Be a pepper, drink.
Okay, so that tries to convince you that you will be a pepper too, if only you also drink Dr. Pepper. And apparently it must be really cool because everybody's dancing and singing. And oh, look how much fun you have with Dr. Pepper. Okay, so bandwagon. Everyone else is doing it. You should too. It appeals to our sense of community. We don't want to be left out in the cold. We don't want to be left alone. We don't want to be the only one who's been isolated from everyone else. So bandwagon is a really good emotional technique because it preys on our fear of being left out of the crowd. Okay. This is an example of stacking the deck. So if you've ever played cards, you know that sometimes a dealer might stack the deck in a particular order in order to try to make sure that some people have an advantage in the card game over other people. It is not okay to stack the deck. Okay, that's against the rules because it gives advantage to some players over others, and that's not fair. So this is also called card stacking. So you might see it as stacking the deck or card stacking. It's the same thing. All right. This manipulates the audience's perception of an issue by making unfair comparisons or deliberately leaving out information that would go against the speaker's claim. So let's take a look at this ad here. It has Sun Chips. It says great multi-grain taste, original, all natural. Okay, so we're looking here. We've got a big heart on here indicating that it's good for your heart. Tells you it has less salt than you think. Tells you it has 18 grams of whole grains, as much as a slice of bread. Tells you it has 30% less fat than regular potato chips, and that there are 0 trans fats and 0 milligrams of cholesterol. So this is telling you all sorts of really, really great things about Sun Chips. And I think that at the end of the day, the claim that they are making here is that their Sun Chips are healthy. They're good for you. Okay, that's the claim. Sun Chips are good for you. But what they do is they leave out the fact that in general, chips just are a junk food. Okay? They tell you there are no trans fats, but they don't tell you how much fat. Okay? We know that there's still fat in them. It's just 30% less fat than regular potato chips. We know there's still salt in them, high sodium. It's just less sodium than you're going to get from other potato chips. At the end of the day, they've only told you all of the things about these Sun Chips that are good. They haven't told you anything about why they're not good for your body. They are junk food. Okay? So what they're doing here is they're stacking the deck by only giving you positive information about the Sun Chips and leaving out all of the negative information about the Sun Chips. So that's appealing to your logic, logos. It's using facts and data to try to convince you. Next is a celebrity endorsement, okay? So this uses famous people to promote a product, person, or idea. So the suggestion is that you can be just like that celebrity if you use the product that they use, or if you believe in the same ideas that they believe in. Again, this is an emotional appeal. It uses people that we love and admire, so we look up to them and we're like, oh, I want to be like that person. And it also makes us, again, feel like we're part of the cool crowd because celebrities are cool. So let's take a look at this endorsement for Sprite using Drake.
Yo, what's up? I'm just not feeling it.
He's not feeling it, you guys. He needs Sprite.
Last name ever, first name greatest. Like a sprained ankle, boy, ain't nothing to play with. Started off local.
All right, so the idea here is, here's Drake and he's not feeling it, and then he drinks his Sprite, and then he turns into a rhyme spitting machine after he drinks the Sprite. So if you want to become a rhyme spitting machine like Drake, drink Sprite. That's the celebrity endorsement. Plays on our emotions, our desire to be like someone. This is really similar, okay? A testimonial usually does use celebrities, but not always. Testimony means that you go and you give facts about something, okay? Like if you have to testify in court, you have to give a testimony in court. That means that you're called before the judge and you're asked a series of questions and you are expected to tell the truth about those questions, and it goes on the record. So a testimonial is having someone who should know give a testimony that a product is either good or bad. So when we look here at this ad, what we see is he has the icy hot patch, and because he's an NBA basketball player, we're going to assume that this dude's getting aches and pains all the time, right? So if he says that icy hot patches are good and they work for aches and pains, we're going to believe him because he should know. He should know because he probably gets aches and pains all the time. So testimonial is using somebody, okay, this is an ethical appeal, it uses ethos. Okay, so somebody who should know gives a testimony for the product. This may or may not be a celebrity endorsement. It often uses celebrities, but not always. Sometimes it's just random doctor or random dentist. Plain folks. This is where the speaker wants the audience to believe that he or she is just one of the common people, just like you. Okay? We all know that Lindsay Lohan is not a common person. She's a celebrity. She's an actress. She's rich. She's famous. She's lots of things. Okay? But she tries to connect with us by saying, hey, really, I'm just a regular, average human being just like you. And I have regular, average human being problems, such as acne. So let's take a look at this Proactive commercial that uses Lindsay Lohan as an endorsement.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Lohan. Do you stress out about your skin? Do you freak when you break out overnight? Well, help is on the way. It's called Proactive Solution. I'm a normal person and I do get zits, and I'm not happy when I do, so I like to try and find anything that's preventative towards it, and Proactive has done that for me. Proactive heals acne, but the best thing is it's super gentle, so it works every day like skincare. That's how I use it, and it works.
Now's your chance to join Lindsay Lohan and millions more who've cleared their skin with Proactive Solution. Named Best Acne Treatment by Allure Magazine.
I don't like breakouts. I don't want breakouts. So I use Proactive every day, and I don't get breakouts.
Developed by 2 Stanford-trained dermatologists, Proactive is the #1 best-selling acne system in America.
Acne's random. It shows up by surprise. My skin, thanks to Proactive, is clear all the time.
Wouldn't you like to be clear too? Get a 30-day kit of Proactive for just $19.95. With Proactive's proven 3-step system, you can heal acne.
Okay, we get the gist of it. So they actually use several persuasive appeals here, okay? They're like, wouldn't you like to be acne-free too? Which is kind of a bandwagon thing. Don't you want to be part of the acne-free crowd? And they use the the celebrity endorsement with Lindsay Lohan saying, hey, I'm a celebrity and I use this, so you should use it. But I'm trying to illustrate here plain folks, okay? Lindsay Lohan wants us to believe that she's just like us. Everybody gets zits. She's just an average human being. So this again plays on our our pathos, our emotions, okay? It's an emotional appeal because we don't want to feel like we're left out. It makes us feel like we're all part of the same group. We're all one human race that all gets zits, okay? Another is name calling. The fancy name for this is ad hominem. Ad hominem actually means attacking the man in Latin. So here we have a political cartoon from last year, and it is a perfect example of name calling or ad hominem. So you have Donald Trump here, and he's talking about Kim Jong-un, who is the leader of North Korea. I had a brain freeze for a minute there. So he says, I've canceled the summit with Kim because that short, fat, maniac madman and very bad dude resorted to name calling. So here what he's doing is he's calling Kim Jong-un all sorts of really, really nasty things. Literally, it's a schoolyard bully technique, name calling. So what you do is you use negative words to describe a person or a group with the intention of making them look bad. Now, this could also be used in a positive way to paint the person in a positive light, but usually it's pretty negative. So if somebody has an argument that you don't like, instead of discussing their argument, you would just attack them and say, well, they're stupid. Well, obviously they don't know what they're talking about because they're stupid. That would be a name-calling technique. Transfer is one that a lot of my students kind of struggle with, but hopefully this will make sense to you. Transfer associates the qualities of a person, object, or idea with the qualities of another person, object, or idea in hopes the audience will come to think they're one and the same. So like if I were to give all of my, if I were to make all of my video lessons with a big giant American flag in the background, you would associate that flag and its ideals with me because you keep seeing me in front of the flag. So the idea of freedom and baseball and apple pie and equal opportunity and all of these general things that we associate with the American flag, you would ideally eventually start to associate me and my lessons with all of those American ideals as well. So it'd be like, Miss Todd is American because she's got the America flag behind her. That's transfer. I would never have to say a word. All you would have to do is just see that image behind me all the time, and you would start to connect me with America and what American flags symbolize. So transfer in this example that I'm giving you right here. It has a Japanese flag kind of look to the back of it, and it's kind of a World War II Japanese flag look, and we know we are at war with the Japanese in World War II. It has Obama in a Chinese looking uniform, okay, and it has the donkeys over here, which represent the Democratic Party. It has some Asian writing that I can't read. And then it has some Democrat Congress people, and it has them also in these Chinese or might even be Korean. You guys, I'm terrible with my like China, Korea, all that. I admit that I am deficient in my Asian history and geography. But I'm going to say it's probably Chinese because it's trying to associate them with communism. Okay. The idea of red is also associated with communism. So when you see these pictures of these Democratic leaders and they're all dressed like communists, then you are supposed to start thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, the Democrats are all a bunch of communists. So this would be a way of trying to get you to think poorly about Democrats. So transfer here, it doesn't ever say here Democrats are communists. All it does is put a bunch of Democrats together in a setting with uniforms on that connect with communism. Okay, so that's transfer. And I think this might be our last one. This is glittering generality. This is when you say something so general that it could mean anything. So using a vague word or phrase to evoke a feeling rather than to actually convey meaningful information. It's so general, it could be interpreted in many ways. Okay, words like freedom are glittering generalities because the concept of freedom means different things to different people. So the image here I've given you is it's time for men to man up. And it has a picture of a man here, and he's dressed in, jeans and a manly shirt. And he's got his manly watch, and etc. So what does it mean exactly to be a man? We have our tropes, okay? We have our stereotypes. Men are big and burly and strong and they don't ever cry and all of those stereotypes about man. But really, what does it mean to be a man? Because that can mean different things to different people. So this is a glittering generality because it's assuming that everybody thinks of being a man as being the exact same thing. And that is not necessarily true. So here's what you are going to do for today. Here's your activity. Each of the following slides has an image on it. So I want you to take a look at each of the slides and really pay attention, not just to the words, but also to the colors, to the details of the image. Really look very specifically at each one. And then I want you to identify which persuasive technique you think is primarily being used. Primarily means first and foremost. It means mostly. Okay, some of these images might have more than one persuasive technique being used. I want you to just identify one that you think is the most dominant. Then justify your response with an explanation. So this means that you need to justify or prove that your answer is correct by explaining very specifically the words, the images, the colors, the details that you see in that image that lead you to believe that that is the particular technique being used. So if I say that I think something is a bandwagon technique, I can't just write it's bandwagon. I have to say I think it's bandwagon because it uses these words, it uses these images, it uses these colors, it uses these people, whatever. And here's how it uses it in a bandwagon way to make me want to be one of the in crowd. Everyone else is doing it, so I should too. Okay. Now, if you think there's more than one technique being used and you want to mention it, that is totally acceptable. You can do that. But I'm only requiring you to mention one and specifically explain to me why you chose that technique. So, this is our first example. Okay, you've got Katy Perry with some pop chips. The second example here, we have Barack Obama and Joe Biden back when Obama was president, eating lunch in a diner, being served by a waitress, just eating some burgers. Example 3, we have a old-timey looking poster that says, "You want some of this? Protesting is un-American." So it has a cop and apparently a protester. Here you have a doctor with some Lucky Strike cigarettes, advertising Luckies. In the fifth example, you have a billboard sign with several bottles of Coca-Cola. Here you have a Burger King fry ad. This is, it's either World War I or World War II. I think it's a World War I poster, actually. It says, destroy this mad brute. This is supposed to be the brute. Enlist in the U.S. Army. So I think this here says culture, like there's a bat where he's batting something. And he's carrying off this woman who he has, you know, half ripped off her clothes, and he's got to do God knows what with her. So this is example 7. Also keep in mind the fear and hope thing too. Like this one definitely is meant to scare us. Example 8 is an Oral-B ad for toothpaste. And that's it. That is your assignment for today. So I'm sorry that this one ran long, but there was just a lot of information for me to cover here today. And I hope that you guys have a great rest of the day. Bye.